Hello, welcome to...
You got away from the music.
What's the name of the show?
What's the...
I'm trying to...
You're cheating.
Something real estate.
Definitely.
Tell me. Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Eric Pedigo Show.
It's
Real estate superstars?
It's real estate for real. Maybe I should change it to real estate superstars. I think I
Right?
might like that better.
Real estate for reals.
Real estate for real.
Well, welcome to Real Estate for Reals. And today, well, I think you're a superstar.
Thank
That's
you.
why that came up.
Thank you. You take over.
So the
You're the host today.
interviewer has become an interviewee.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you turn the tables.
Yes. Well, Happy New Year.
Yeah. We're about there. So we're recording what is today? December 10th. I don't know when I'm going to release this.
Okay.
yet.
Well, either Merry Christmas or pre-Happy New Year or post-Happy New Year. We are
All of it.
somewhere there.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, wrap it all up.
Yes.
Happy holidays.
So we thought it would be fun since you have been interviewing all these fabulous people. We thought it would be fun for you to be on the other side and we can hear your story for a change and put you in the spot.
So I was like, I started to feel today what everybody else I think has been feeling when I asked them to come on, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm a little bit nervous."
Yes.
You know, I don't know.
I asked you to come on this time.
I need to turn my phone down. That's day one stuff. And this was your idea because I had you on.
Episode 4 or 5.
Yeah,
5.
a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And when we got done, you said you think it would be fun to like turn it around and you ask me questions and
Yes. You
And-
didn't let me that day. So
No, I did not.
This is your punishment.
So I'm gonna do my best to not host and to let you kind of take over.
Well, you can help me because this is not what I do. But the reason why I thought of that was, that day, because you were asking me questions, I wanted to ask you questions too, but I said it kind of jokingly. But, later I thought about it and we all know each other. We've known each other for so long, but not really.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about you, anything about your life. I know the real estate side of you. I know the fun side of you. I know a little bit of the friend side of you, but that's it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you do when you are interviewing people. Like when I came on, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure other people experience that. I can tell you how many messages and phone calls I got from my friends, from my relatives that I had not heard forever because, you think people are your friends and people around, they don't know the real you.
Yeah.
So it's time for you to tell us the real you.
to talk about myself. Yeah, what a weird thing. So
let's start with, since this is about real estate, how did you start and how did you get into that?
okay. This is the same question I throw at everybody, so it's only right that I answer the same question. So I got into real estate, and this was not like a lifelong dream. And so I always ask people, so let me guess, this probably wasn't your childhood dream, was to grow up and be a realtor.
That is anybody's.
It's different now.
Yeah.
Now, because
Yeah.
it's been kind of glamorized.
Yes.
Young people do want to get into it, but not the case for me growing up by any means. So my original goal was to be in the NBA and to be a professional basketball player.
Oh, wow.
But then once I turned like 12, 13, I think the reality set in that wasn't going to happen.
That's not happening.
And I had to just settle for, recreational basketball, which was still fun. And right after high school, so my family owns a sod and landscape business here in Springfield
Okay.
that my grandpa and my great uncle started back in 1966.
66.
Right. And so my name, and obviously you didn't grow up here, but my last name, Pedigo, is kind of synonymous with that company because when they started, there was like nobody doing that type
Yeah.
of work around here. And so my whole life growing up, at school every year I'd go and the teacher would do let's see, Eric Pettigo and like the Sod people. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
You were a popular name.
So that was my whole life.
Everybody
right?
knew you.
Yeah, everybody knew
Was
my
that a
last
good
name.
thing or a bad thing?
It was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, it's my my family has a good reputation for being like hard workers and doing a good job. They've got my grandpa, my dad, my uncles, everybody has done a really good job of making sure that that they didn't tarnish our name at all.
But that can
town.
be bad because if you do anything bad, then you're like, oh my God, how could you? You
That's
come
correct.
from this family.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. But I guess I never really thought of it like that because I was always a really good kid. What? You almost just did the first cuss. Yeah, no, I was really good at not getting caught. So
There you go.
And I was always very charming, so I could always kind of
Cover it up.
Yeah. So, but right out of high school, because I did not like school. I liked being there. I didn't like the homework.
Yeah.
And the thought of graduating high school and then going and doing more school to me sounded like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And especially my family owned this business, and my plan was go eventually take that over.
I was going to say, wasn't that like the
Yeah.
obvious thing to do?
Yes. And so that's what I did. So I graduated high school. I was 17. I went right to work with my dad and just hard manual labor. Started. I didn't like step into an executive position or anything. I was out there doing it.
Yeah.
And that was my job. And after a few years, I kind of became the foreman of the sod crew. So my job was to basically go put grass on people's yards. They buy a house. In fact, almost every house that you've sold here in the Springfield and Central Illinois area, if it was built prior to, let's see, when did I start doing this? 2014. I probably put the yard there.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it like a monopoly? It was just you?
Yeah,
Kinda.
not intentionally a
Yeah.
monopoly,
Yeah.
but it was there.
Just was
There
nobody
weren't a
else?
lot of other people there's a lot of landscape companies,
Right.
but there aren't many companies who actually have a crew that goes around and installs sod
Yeah.
like on a daily basis. And so that's what I did from 1998 until I started doing this in
Just
2014.
smell of grass at all times.
Yeah, grass at all times. And it was hard,
Yeah.
but I liked it.
Yeah.
Like it was cool. When you get done and you see
Yeah.
what
Finished
was
product.
yeah, it was so cool, and it
Yeah.
was something I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because my family is full of hard workers who don't like to retire, the opportunity for like promotion kind of wasn't really there.
Yeah.
And for instance, my grandpa, I think, is 89, he just officially retired 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he was still driving a tractor and working a rake and doing manual labor until like his early to mid 80s.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Right. And so at this time in my life, I'm married. I've got 3 kids. We live in a 1,400 square foot duplex in Chatham. And my wife has a home daycare.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because it didn't make any sense for her to work.
With 3 kids. Yeah.
The cost for daycare for 3 kids
Ridiculous.
is insane. She would basically have been, one of us would have been essentially working to just cover daycare.
Yeah. Yep.
So it made more sense because she worked at a daycare anyway. It made more sense for her to just start doing it from home and making money off of it. So needless to say, that 1,400 square foot duplex, and it was a 2-story, by the way. So
Oh, wow.
was overflowing.
Yes.
We were full to capacity.
Yeah.
So it was time to move, time to find a new house, sell, move. And
But you weren't growing. where you were at work.
Right. So all these things kind of lined up together where I was needing a career change. And in the meantime, we were needing a new house.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what to do. So we started driving around and calling realtors from the signs that we saw for a house we seemed interested in. And we would go look at it. And we found a house that we wanted to see that was listed by a lady named Linda Nelson. Mm-hmm. And Linda worked for the real estate group. She's since retired and moved to Colorado, and she's a fantastic lady, and I owe her a lot.
Yeah.
And Linda, God bless her, worked with us for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
We could not get that duplex sold to save our life.
Oh my gosh.
It just didn't show well. We had so much stuff.
Yeah.
We had a full storage unit. And still our house was, it wasn't trashy or anything. It was a nice place.
It was just, you couldn't see it.
It seemed like this. So.
And it wasn't today's market where.
It was not. This was 2011.
Yeah.
So we were right after that, the market crash.
Right.
So things were kind of starting to build themselves back up. So, but the thing about it was in that 2 years, we saw God knows how many houses.
Yeah.
And I during that process, I was starting to understand the business of real estate a little bit. And then I'm starting, we're looking at these houses and I'm seeing the value of this and this sold for that much. And it all kind of started like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
It's strange to actually have a real interest in something because I feel like most people go to work and it's work.
Yeah.
And they don't like it.
Yeah.
They're not interested. It's just a job. But I had a real interest. And so I talked to Linda about, do you think I could do this? And she said, absolutely. Absolutely you could do this. So short story long, I guess, because I ramble. I signed up for a course from the Illinois Association.
Yeah.
And I got Ashley Coker and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I got a textbook like that thick.
Yeah, I did too.
You did too? Yeah, same thing. And so I had to sit at home and go through that. Meanwhile, still running the family business. Also 3 small kids, also home daycare.
Oh my God.
And it took me literally a year to get through that course.
Yeah.
And I passed all the tests.
And it's not a fun course.
It's
just not.
It's not. And so apparently, side note, Lucas, everybody knows Lucas. Mm-hmm. He's at my house putting in some bathroom vents and found a broken sewer vent.
Oh my, what?
Awesome. So that's what I'm texting Lucas back now. Awesome. Can it be fixed? Yeah.
Or I have to move and buy a new house altogether.
A good agent? Finally I did the course, and I'm, like I said, I'm not good at school.
Yeah.
I never was. Things don't sink in. When I just read textbook stuff, it doesn't sink in.
Yeah.
And right now my oldest son, is currently taking the course.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old is he?
21.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's 21. And he wants to be...
You told me the other day, I was so shocked. You do not look like you have a 21-year-old.
Put it up.
My gosh.
I appreciate that. I feel like I do.
Yeah.
But he is, he's studying. He wants to get his license. And
he does.
Get into the business, yeah. So
you've inspired him.
I think so. I'm very truthful with my kids about what this job is.
Yeah, I think they will. The next generation always comes in more educated about what it is.
But I take the test, like the big test. See, I actually didn't remember. I had to go take several smaller tests at the association.
Oh.
I had to take 3 tests there before I took the big test, the do you get your license or not test.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know?
No.
I don't know what
I just took one big test.
Okay. Well.
Just the state test. Otherwise, everything was
online.
Online.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything online. Everything was in person. So, Did you have to go to H&R Block to do the state test?
No, but it was another place. It wasn't. It was a place on 6th Street. I had to go to
By the grocery store?
buy that big pink elephant.
Yeah, it was
somewhere.
H&R Block.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
geography wasn't my.
That's okay. That's all right. So I remember taking the test and not knowing anything.
Oh,
Like I felt like I didn't know anything.
yeah. You just
I tried my best, but
eeny, meeny, miny,
it was.
mowed it.
I mean, I tried my best, and I remember I got done, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I turned it in, and the lady runs it through the system, and she just goes, "You passed."
Are you sure?
Yeah, I did. I was so shocked. I said, yeah, you passed. So what'd I get? And she said, I don't know. It doesn't tell us that. It just tells us whether or not you
Yeah.
passed. And I made her give me a high five. I said, put it up. And she was like, pardon me? I said, put it up. Like to her, it was
Poor
just another
lady.
person getting their
Yeah.
real estate license. To me, this was absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
Because I had been doing something for so long in my whole life after I got over the basketball thing.
I never thought you would do anything else
Right.
but what you were doing.
And I had hit such a ceiling there, and I had become so frustrated because I was not able to provide for my family the way that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't like hitting ceilings.
Yeah. You feel stuck.
Yes.
You're like, I want to grow. I like what I'm doing,
Yes.
but I'm not growing. And
I remember, and I told Ashley this a few weeks ago too. I remember after I got done, I went out and I sat in our minivan because that's what I drove. And I sat there for about 5 minutes. I didn't call anybody. I didn't do anything. But I sat there and I was a little emotional.
no.
I was just a little bit overcome. Felt like it was just such a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted it so bad, and then I didn't think I was going to get it, and then I did, and I just felt like my whole life.
It's just about to change.
Yes.
See, it's so weird because I felt none of that. But
Really?
because I was just, at the time just doing it for the heck of doing it.
Right.
I didn't care that much. And I passed. I'm like, oh, great. I don't have to come back again. So, but, the point is that it was that for you. For me, it was
Yes.
like, yeah, just whatever. But it was such a big thing. And I bet a lot of people feel that way. And it's just the beginning to
Yeah.
whatever you're going to make of it. But you
And I had no idea
yeah,
what was next.
nobody does.
But I just knew that I needed that so bad.
I think it was just, like you said, you were so frustrated to where you were. This was just a huge hope is
Yes.
probably what you saw. It's like, oh my God, this is what's going to change it.
Well, and to me, like there was a part of it where, my whole life I've always been a hard worker. I can work.
Yeah.
That's never been a problem. Getting up, working, and shutting it off when it's time.
Yeah.
That's never been a problem for me. But I'd always been reliant on, my dad.
You didn't do it yourself
Yeah,
ever.
my dad. He set up the jobs, and I would go get them done.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to find the work. I didn't, I
Yeah.
didn't have to go out there and actually the work was there for me
Look
to do.
for it.
But for the first time, everything was just kind of in my hands.
That's got to be scary too, though.
It was.
It's probably life changing in a good way, but you're like, oh shit, now, like, it's me now. I have to do this.
I was excited though, right?
Okay.
Like I'm one of these people that have, I would sometimes call it unreasonable confidence.
Overconfident.
I don't think so. Like,
Yeah.
Oh no. I lost my headphones there for a second. Hold on. No, I don't think unreasonable. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not unrealistic
You're just positive.
necessarily.
I'll get it done. Like, this is great. This will happen. So just positive.
But I feel like it's a mindset. Like, I can do this. I can
Yeah.
do this if I really
You
apply
have to
myself.
have
I
that
can do
mindset
this.
to be able to do it.
Right.
So
I
that's
try not
great.
to let doubt creep in.
Yeah.
And but boy, did it after that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have no idea getting into real estate, like how to build a business.
Yeah.
None.
You get a license now. What? I don't know. What, your day one, you're at the office. What am I supposed to do? No clue.
I remember you telling me you got licensed and you had it was like you were with Becky, right?
Yeah.
And so it was you came here.
Yes,
That
I
was
came
that.
here. Yeah.
So I didn't know where to go because at that point, by the time I got licensed, Linda that I told you about
Oh.
was already gone.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
2 guys that I went to high school with were realtors at Charles Robbins
Okay.
in town. Mindy Push, who I also went to high school with, was a realtor here
Yeah.
at the group at the time. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know what to do. I opened the phone book. You listen to you laugh. I did. I went home and opened a phone book and flipped in the yellow pages to real estate companies.
Oh my gosh. There have to be like a handful. That's it. There couldn't be like 20.
I mean, so the first one that I got to was Century 21.
Yeah.
It starts with a C. Right? So I called. And the managing broker there, Kevin Graham,
Yeah.
who's still
Yeah.
and super nice guy. Anyhow, I set up a meeting to go talk to him. And so I go and I meet with Kevin, and I'm just so excited to get started that, he told me, and he's like, you could go to one of these bigger companies. You could go to a Remax or a real estate group, but for a new agent starting off,
Smaller.
he's like, you might get lost in the mix there. And he's not wrong.
Yeah. It made sense. Yeah.
He's like, it would make more sense to come to a smaller place like this and work with somebody every day, who kind of, and go
And
from
hold
there.
your hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And then at some point, if you want to move on to one of these bigger companies after you know what you're doing, do it then.
Yeah.
I almost signed right there.
Oh, wow.
I was this close.
Yeah.
I went home and talked to my wife. She's like, do you just want to call him and say, and I'm like, a little bit. I just wanted to get going.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I knew I was like, I need to talk to more people.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to the lady who was running Charles Robbins because my 2 guys I went to high school with worked there.
Worked there.
And that went fine too. But Linda Nelson sent me an email with a like a graph of sales in the real estate group.
The one we see.
Way up here.
Yeah.
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 It was even like that then, right? We had already surpassed everybody then.
Right.
Like 11 years ago, we had already taken over that number 1 spot.
Yeah.
And she said, if you want to be the best, you need to learn from the best.
Right.
That's what her email said. No, that really resonated
Yeah.
because I do want to be the best.
Yeah.
And then Mindy Push said something along the lines of, you have to go talk to Mike Busher.
Yeah. Once you talk to him, that's it.
He's a closer. He is a closer. Yeah. He will seal the deal.
Yes.
So I did. So I scheduled a meeting with Mike Busher, and sat down with him for a little bit. That went really, really well.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I did numbers.
Yeah.
And the real estate group, the thing about the real estate group is they're not going to pay for my advertising. They're not going to pay for my signs. They're not going to pay for anything. All the overhead is me.
Right.
But you get to keep more of your commission, and there's no franchise fees.
Right.
So the commission split from the real estate group, and depending on how much you sold, right? Like if I wasn't going to sell very much, then one of these other companies would have made more sense.
Right.
Because they would have covered all my overhead.
But as the unreasonable, confident person you are, you were just going to sell a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly right. And so that was my thought, was like, no, I'm going to sell real estate.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the place where once I sell this amount, I get to keep more
that
of it.
much. Yep.
And so that, along with how well my meeting with Mike went, it was a no-brainer. I was like, I'm signing up. I'm going to the real estate group.
Yeah.
So that's the, 25-minute story of how I got into real estate.
You came to the right place. And that's what I tell people when people, get licensed and they talk to me. I'm like, of course, if you come and talk to me, I'm biased, regardless.
Yeah.
But even if you keep that bias aside, why won't you work with the biggest, largest company? I mean, they're all great. Everybody does well and everybody does a good job. And, we like people at all the other companies. But, the numbers say this is Why wouldn't you? Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. To me, it's for whatever reason. I mean, people have their reasons for whatever choices they make, and if they're happy where they're at, then awesome. But I cannot imagine working for another brokerage.
And just the people here, which you find out later. But like, I didn't even go through this process, didn't think anything. Becky worked here, I came here, I started working here.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to anybody else. I didn't know. Like, I just didn't know any better, which I'm glad I didn't know any better.
Good thing.
Yeah.
You're a good fit here. I
don't know.
What's weird is when you are, it's like a reverse interview almost.
Yeah.
Because brokerages want salespeople. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like why should I come here?
Yeah.
Like normally you go to a job interview and you're telling them why they should hire you.
Right.
But then you're going to these job interviews, brokerages, like, why should I?
They already want you.
I mean, right.
Yeah.
I mean, if they think, obviously, that you're going to pan out and be
I didn't
something.
even talk to Mike Busher. Like, for me, it was like,
Really?
Have
you met him? He's a great guy.
I walk into his office and he looks at me like, what now? Like, what happened? What did you do?
I've got Mike coming on next week.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be bomb.
Yep.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to that one. But
Yeah.
yeah. And so then getting going was the next thing.
What year is it now that you started?
So I passed the final test in November of 2013. And I met with Mike in December of 2013. And that's when I decided I was coming to the real estate
started
group.
2 years before me. You talk like you were like 20 years before me or something.
No.
Yeah.
No, 11 years. I've been doing it 11 years.
Yeah, I've been doing it 9 years.
Yeah. No, my official like actual start date, because when I came, when I was like, okay, I want to come here, Mike's like, great. I want to wait to get you actually started until we have this guy coming over from another company who we're bringing over specifically to work with new agents. And I think you guys are going to get along great. And I kind of want you to start
with him.
And it was Pat selling.
Pat, yeah.
And he could not have been more right about that.
He took everybody under his wings. And for me, it was different because I was on a team. So I didn't get a chance to do all of that
but still, he was always there.
He was always there. I mean, I called him constantly for things, and he was, my gosh, I miss him.
I just talked to him the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was 2014, like right at the beginning, January 1st, 2014 was my official start date.
Tell me about your first sale. How did that come along, and how long after you started?
All right. So I get licensed, and I don't know what to do other than just let everybody who I even kind of know that I'm now a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And so I utilize Facebook, and I make a Eric Pettigo real estate broker Facebook page. Not a business page, just a personal page. And I send out friend requests to all these people.
Yeah.
Right? And once I get 1,600 friends, I switch it over to a business page.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's a lot easier to get people to accept a friend request than to like a business page. So that was my thought. And it worked out.
Yeah.
And then once they accepted, boom, I sent them a message. Hey, just let you know. And people were, people say, okay, yeah, I'll let you know, and that was always nice.
Yeah.
But I was relentless.
Yeah.
I remember somebody said, yeah, my neighbor was talking about maybe selling his house at some point this year. I'll let him know about you.
Yeah.
I followed up with that person. How's your neighbor? You talk to your neighbor? What's going on with your neighbor? Your neighbor selling? What's happening?
And that's the mistake people make, is not following up.
Yes.
That's exactly what you need to do.
And
so you weren't shy.
No, I've never been shy. No. And I wanted to get something going. So a girl I went to high school with, she was one of the people that she was more of acquaintance than a friend.
Yeah.
But I'd known her for a long time. I think we rode the same bus. I sent her a message, let her know. She's like, yeah, actually, my husband and I have a house. They had moved already, but they had a house for sale in Trevi Gardens for sale by owner. She's like, we don't really want to pay realtor fees. We're selling for sale by owner, but I'll let you know if we change our mind.
Yeah.
And I remember I responded with something like, okay, well, there might be a chance that we could sell it and you still get what you want
Yeah.
for it, so just let me know. And that was that. And this was a conversation I had with multiple people
Yeah.
with very similar. And I remember I was sitting in here at a training, and I think it was probably like February. I was sitting right over there in a training, and I was sitting by Pat, and my phone, I got a text that said, "Hey, Eric, this is Katie. I think I might want you to go ahead and list my house in Trevi."
Ooh.
And, I'm like, oh, and I'm Pat,
Yeah.
look, and it was just so exciting. And so, so that was my very first listing. And we listed it. And of course, this was 2014, different market.
Yeah.
Listed, and there's literally snow on the ground. My very first sign, I didn't even have a name writer yet for the sign.
Yeah.
So I stuck one of Pat's in there.
Yeah.
So my first listing said Pat Sellinger. Right. But it was my listing, and then I was ordering stuff. I got it in within like a week.
Yeah.
And it sat for maybe a month or so until we finally
that
got it.
time, if you sell a house in a month, that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But we Jan Brewer from Remax brought in the buyer.
Nice.
And I remember so inspection happened and we got the repair addendum, and I'm like, all right, here we go. So I'm like digging in, and I'm trying to battle for everything because I thought that's what you do. And to the point where my clients, my sellers were just like, hey, we'll just do it. Yeah, it's fine.
Calm down.
Yeah. We'll just, hey, it's all right. We'll just fix it,
No, you won't. I'm not going to let you fix it.
I was so hard. I thought that's how you did it. So, yeah. So that was my first sale, and we closed in May. So I was licensed from January until May and did not get a paycheck.
Yeah. Me neither. I sold my first house because Becky double booked herself and Rose double booked herself. So I was the only choice they had. And I'm this clueless. But it was, so that's how that fell into my lap.
Really?
Because they were both busy, and these people were coming from out of town for the whole weekend. They needed to buy a house on the weekend. But my first deal was I sold a house in one weekend. It was a $400,000 house. I'm like, well, this is easy.
Yeah.
That's it. You showed 6 houses and they pick one. I remember that was my first interaction with Kyle Killebrew. It was a house that he was about to list next morning.
Okay.
And my people had to leave that night, Sunday night. And I called him. I said, I introduced myself. He had no clue who I am. And I said, he's like, no, I can't show it until tomorrow. And I begged him and begged him and begged him and called him. Finally, he got so annoyed. He's like, fine, just show it. And I showed it and we sold it.
That's awesome.
So that was the first house.
And so how long after you got licensed before that happened?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months. But, I also had no experience in anything in the world. Like, I came here, I'd never seen an office in my life. I had never...
Well, this is your first job that you've ever had.
First job
I remember
ever.
you telling me that.
Yeah, so
Right.
I was also just getting used to and I was shy. I didn't know how to...
I bet you Kyle would say differently. It's amazing how...
I don't even know if he remembered because, it was my first deal.
Here's
so
a story
I
about
remember.
Kyle, and Kyle does remember, I guarantee you, and I'll tell you why. When we had that duplex for sale, my wife and I,
Yeah.
she was at like her wit's end, and I think our listing contract ran out with like Linda, and we had a mutual friend with Sarah Grusemeyer. Mm-hmm. And so somehow it got set up where Sarah and Kyle came to our duplex to look at it, to maybe talk about listing it. And they came over, and it was a one-time meeting. What they wanted to list it for, it didn't work for you know what I mean? It was nothing like we don't like you. It was
Yeah.
I mean, I think the world of Kyle and
Yeah.
Sarah, they're excellent, but
Yeah.
they came over, and my wife cried. I wasn't there. I was at work. My wife cried because she was just so frustrated with everything
Yeah.
during that meeting.
Yeah.
And that was it was a one-time meeting.
Yeah.
Years and years later, at a company at the real estate group's Christmas party. Mm-hmm. I'm there with my wife, and we bump into Kyle, and she's like, I don't know if you remember me, and he goes, oh yeah, I remember you, Downing Drive.
Oh my gosh.
Because I wasn't there. I wasn't a realtor yet. I didn't, you know what I mean? I hadn't even thought about getting into real estate yet at that point. And the memory, I mean, because you know that dude meets so many people and goes in so many houses.
Yeah.
And this was a little like $100,000 duplex in Chatham.
Yeah.
A one-time meeting, a listing he didn't get.
Yeah.
And he remembered exactly who she was and where he met her, the street it was on.
Well,
So
there's
he
a reason
remembers-
he's where he is, for sure.
He remembers you calling him and harassing
In fact,
him.
I did harass him, and he's like, who is this girl? Who is she? First of all, I've not heard of her. She has an accent. And he was he's like, who is this? He's like, fine.
Oh man. So that's funny how that works. But
So this I asked you briefly when I met you. I'm going fast because I want to know answers.
oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I'll keep them short.
So in this world of teams, you started alone. I started with a team. Then I went on my own, and I wanted to be on my own.
Okay.
That's what I had decided, that this was great, but it's, I want to be on my own.
You want your face on that billboard. I've seen it.
And I also liked not having anybody, but I also missed it. I mean, I also missed having a team and missed having other people to talk to and bounce ideas and stuff, which I know you can do. You don't have to have a team for that. But then I felt the need. I couldn't do it. I needed help. I needed people to show houses for me. Sometimes I definitely needed an assistant, because that's a disadvantage when you start on a team. You don't learn all that. So I had to get an assistant immediately as soon as I left the team, whether I could afford it or not.
Right.
I didn't have a choice. There was no way I could start learning all that after 5 years. But you started alone. But after all these years, like, you've not felt the need to, or you just didn't want to. I mean, now your son is becoming a realtor. Maybe you'll change that now. But until now.
Yeah, I think I'm being forced into that now.
Yeah. You just have to.
I think I have to.
Yeah.
Now.
But why didn't you? I mean, this is a different reason, but like, why didn't you all these years never thought about it? I'm sure people approached you.
I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you mean like starting my own team or joining somebody's?
Either.
I've never once, and nothing against any of our team leaders who I have like the utmost admiration for, but I've never once even like remotely considered working under somebody else.
Right.
I want credit for what I do.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is I never wanted a sale that I made
To go in somebody else's name.
to go on somebody else's name.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't.
And if you started on your own, I feel you don't feel like you need help
No.
either, because you know how to do everything.
Yes.
And that's a disadvantage. Like, with me, that was, which now I don't think it was a disadvantage. I'm glad, like, I don't have to deal with all that. There's just no way I can. Things that Ali does and she says, and I'm like, I have no clue what she's saying. I'm like, I'm glad you know what you're doing, because I don't.
For me, there's that part of it is I don't want to work under anybody.
Yeah.
Kind of the reason that I got into this was
To be your own.
to just be my own.
But you don't
person.
work under anybody.
Yeah, and I guess you don't, but you still kind of do, right?
No. I never felt I was working, or Becky never made me feel I was working under her ever. Like, I never felt like I couldn't do it. It's the opposite. I felt like as a team, I should be more. There should be, it was too much of my own thing that I was doing.
Okay.
Almost. But everybody's set differently, though.
I know I said Pat's name was on my first sign. I never want somebody else's name on my sign.
Right.
And then as far as like building my own, and that part of it.
Because you're a successful realtor. You sell
I do.
so much, and you have a passion for it, and you never thought that, okay, at some point, I mean, we can always sell more. There's no end to how much you can sell, but at some point you have to start expanding in a different way.
You do. You're right. And I wish I had a good reason that I haven't, other than there's a little bit of a fear factor to
Yeah.
it. For one, I don't know. Okay, so let's say today I want to start a team. Now what? Who do I call? Who's on my team?
Yeah.
Who do I get? Do I just find somebody and say, hey, you should go get your real estate license and come be on my team?
That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I didn't, but mine were some obvious people that were in my head, and that's why. But which is what's gonna happen with you now. So there's gonna be
Right.
a Eric Pedigo team soon.
Well,
Pedigo team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like assuming he passes tests and everything and sticks with it, then yeah.
But then, will you be open to having other people, or
I would say at that point, then yes.
because you will set up yourself as a
Right.
So if anybody's looking to join a team, we have a new one coming.
I also I have my way of doing things that I'm very particular about.
Right.
You know, and I feel like
You'll have to let go of that control a little bit with others. Yep.
that'll be a really hard thing for me to do.
Yeah.
But I understand that I have to, and that's part of it. And people need to be free to like make their own way in the business,
Yeah.
regardless of if they're working on your team or not. But
Whether they're your son or not.
yeah,
Have you thought that, like my father was very particular that he did not want any of the kids to do what he does,
really,
because he worked with his father. They were both lawyers, and he knew the pros and cons of doing that, and he did not let any of us do what he does because he just didn't want
wow.
us to work with him, because it was. Do you feel a little worried about that fact? I know you must be excited, but do you? And we have examples in front of us where, you know, we have the Josh Cruz and Creasy and all these people who have worked, and it seems like for years and years it works great. But do you have that hesitation a little bit, or no? It's all positive.
I try to stay positive, and like I said earlier, I'm very like open with my children about what this job is.
Yeah.
You know, so this is not a steady paycheck job.
Yeah.
This is not a every week the deposit comes.
I grew up with that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, you know, just so they know, once you get into
Yeah.
it, and there may be things where it seems like my phone's ringing a lot and I'm busy a lot and I'm gone a lot. And I think a lot of people getting into the business assume that's how it will be. I get my license, phone starts ringing.
Yeah.
They don't
No.
see everything that goes into getting to that point.
Yeah.
Like all of the, like I was talking about earlier.
Now the phone sometimes rings on its own. Earlier it was you going after it.
Yeah.
Now I feel like we want you to list your house. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Where did you? I still get so fascinated that somebody's calling me.
Don't you? It's amazing, but that's a result of the work you put in on the front end.
Yeah.
And that's the part that a lot of new people getting in don't see.
Yeah.
Is what it took to get, because now, you know, if you're somewhere socially and, you know, whoever you're around, they know you're a realtor.
Yeah.
And they see you, oh, your phone's texting, calling. Hold on, I got to take this.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go on vacation with me anymore.
No.
None of my friends.
But the perception is that's just what happens when you become a realtor.
Yeah.
But the reality is that only happens if you've put in the really, really hard work on the front end
Yeah.
to make it so now instead of you calling people, people are calling you.
Yeah. I actually get fascinated when I see other realtors doing a lot of things that, oh, we went there for the weekend. And that's like, how? Or I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm like, how? Like, it just fascinates me to how are people doing this? Which, you know, comes with time and age. But
Yeah. But I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to. I know starting a team is it has to be something I do. And I'm also like, there's always a part of me that worries that, okay, let's say I hire an assistant now, and I have a transaction coordinator, and I have these people, you know, helping to
Yeah.
run the. And then what if the bottom falls out? Like,
yeah.
what
No.
if the market completely crashes and the best I can do is sell enough myself to just pay my bills and keep food on the table, and I can't
take responsibility for somebody else?
That terrifies me.
I have this
that I have
really
somebody
expensive
relying
bag
on
that I
me.
use, and Allie tells me that the day I don't pay her salary once, she's gonna go and sell it without telling me. just like, this is going.
Right.
The day I don't get the paycheck. No, I understand that. But yeah, somebody who's that positive, that's really very, very, very dark and low too. What if everything crashes? I never sell a house ever in my life again.
And it seems crazy, but there have been too many times in my adult life where we have struggled to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Too many times, and thankfully, since I've gotten into this business, those times are much fewer and far between.
Yeah.
Which is why I did get into this business. And
well, but that's not true for everybody.
No.
I mean, you are a successful, and I mean, I have to say, which I think every person who's ever worked with you will agree, just fun and amazing to work with, pleasure to work with. Like you just make everything so easy. So if I see your name on the other side, I'm like, yes.
Thank you.
Which
that
is
makes me
a
feel
lot
good.
of us. I feel we like working with each other.
We should.
But
you never want to be
like
that
that.
person that
No.
it's like if your name pops up on the other side of the contract, they're like, oh no.
I don't know if this is good to say or not.
Oh,
I have
then-
refused to show somebody's house. I'm just not going to show it.
Okay.
Because God forbid you like it. I will have to work with it.
That's incriminating. You can't do that.
No, I had somebody else show it. And they actually bought the house. The same house. But
That's funny.
yeah, no, but you are great. And I'm sure, like, I have that experience with you. I'm sure everybody else does.
Well, I try. I think a lot of times we can become too kind of adversarial with each other. We have transactions start getting rough and turbulent, and if the buyer and seller have opposing views, that doesn't mean that we have to
Right.
also, right? Like there are times when I know good and well that my client is being unreasonable.
Yes.
And I know for a fact. And so when I make the call, and I know I'm always working for my client, and that's my job, is whatever they want, I request. But there are conversations sometimes that we have to have with each other
Yes.
as professionals that say, hey, listen, I understand how this is going to land when I tell you this. Just know that. Just know that I get it.
Yeah. And just
But I'm
because
doing
your
my
people
job.
are unreasonable, you don't have to be unreasonable to the other person.
Right.
Like, it's okay to say, I know this is not okay, but
Right.
this is what they want.
Right.
And trust me, I have so much respect for realtors, and I make sure that I tell them multiple times this when I know I have a difficult client, and they are just so reasonable and so patient and so nice. And a lot of times they're not here. So, sometimes I'll have a Remax or a, KW agent, and that's even more scary to begin with. Oh gosh, I have an unreasonable client. But, 9 out of 10 times that other realtor has been amazing.
Yeah.
And I have sent thank you notes. I have sent thank you cakes, apology cakes. But just I can't stop telling them that was so amazing of them. And I wish I hope and I wish I do the same when, I am in that situation.
You do a great job. No, you do a great job. You are awesome to work with. As somebody who's done multiple deals with you, every time has been awesome. So
Thank you.
you're good.
We're fun.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Thank you. But I think we all do the same job. We've all had similar clients. We've all had unreasonable clients. We've all had to make unreasonable requests or demands. We've all had to present lowball offers. We've all had to send over 3-page long repair addendums that we didn't want to send.
Yes.
We've all had to do that. And then we've also all been on the receiving end of that.
Right.
And so we have to keep that in mind when we're dealing with each other.
Yeah.
If I get a repair addendum I don't like, I'm not going to call you and say, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Why would you guys ask for this, and this?
Have you not heard the F word from the other side ever? What the?
I'm going to have to check the little box for explicit content on this one. Yeah. What's funny is I mean, I'm not gonna mention anybody, but when you really get to know some of these people that you've been seeing on like billboards and magazines and stuff, and then you get to know the real them, and they're just normal people
Yeah.
that just kind of cut it up, like, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a cool thing
Yeah.
because you see them.
I'm
And,
scared of some people.
are you?
A little bit. When it comes to it, I'm not. But I'm like, I wish I don't have to. I'm like, oh my God. Like my heart is beating fast when I have to make a phone call. I'm like, oh my God. When I start, I mean, it's okay. But
I mean, it's not the people so much. Like, you're not scared if you're calling to make a really great offer.
no, and I'm not scared for bad news either.
Right.
I'm like, what can I do? It is what it is.
Right.
But I know what's gonna come, and I'm like, yeah, lay it on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was joking with one of the lenders yesterday. A deal fell apart, and my client was very upset, very angry, and she was very upset with the lender. Apparently, it was all the lender's fault. It wasn't, but
Okay.
And I told him, I said, this is the first time ever. It's not my fault. It's you. I'm sorry, but I'm very happy. For a change, it's not the realtor's fault.
And lenders. So did you see the TikTok I made a few days ago?
No.
Okay.
TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person.
You're on TikTok? I've seen you on there.
I have an account which I don't know how to access after I made it. So I've never been on it unless Ali does something that I don't know.
So then Allie's doing it. Because I've seen videos on TikTok that are you
What?
for your pop-up shop and
Yes,
right.
sir.
Okay. All right. You star in them. You know that, right? Okay. But
No other people who are wanting to buy and sell a house do not watch them. I was telling Ali, I'm like, is this going to tarnish my image as a realtor?
no, not at all. The thing about TikTok is it's not local,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't share listings. I don't get on TikTok and say, here's this listing, because it's somebody in like New Hampshire that's watching it. They're not buying the house. Listings are for Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, because that you can target that locally. You can put out an ad, and it reaches everybody in this radius. So that's where listings go, in my opinion. But I make TikToks that just give out general real estate advice.
Right.
And the one I made the other day, because I just had a transaction that closed like a month later than it should have.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of factors involved, and it's one of those things where there was definitely something I could have done better.
Yeah.
In the situation.
Always.
Not perfect.
Always. Yeah.
Right. But there was a lot also that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened was somebody sent the repair addendum to the lender.
Because they ask for it and they pester you.
They did not ask for
Oh,
it.
see, some of these lenders are asking, and I'm not sending that to you.
Yeah, never. And so
No.
that was the TikTok I made was, hey, and I've talked to many loan officers who say, don't ever send me that.
Yeah.
Please don't ever send me that.
Yes.
Send me the
If they
contract
see it, then
with the appliances that are staying.
Yeah.
Don't put the lawnmower on there. Don't just
yeah.
clean
Plain, simple
and
contract.
simple contract, please.
Yeah.
It just makes their job harder, and then it in turn makes our job harder. But somebody sent the lender, and I believe it was the buyer, because it was like an upload portal thing, and it was we got the house pre-inspected. Along with the offer was a repair addendum kind of attached to the offer contract.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened was they just uploaded the whole thing.
Yeah, sent the whole thing.
And so now the lender has this. And part of this was some work that needed to be done in the attic. And
they can't ignore it now.
Well, no, they can't. And we agreed to do the work because somebody in their family was a handyman, climbed up there and did the work. Well, maybe 2 days before closing, like finally our closing was going to happen, the lender says, hey, we need the invoice for that attic work. There's no invoice.
Yeah.
So, well, that needed to be done by a qualified third party. Said, not according to our agreement.
Yeah.
Look at what our agreement says.
Yeah.
I said, well, sorry, we're not pushing this through until we get that.
Oh my God.
So then we had to get it inspected.
Oh,
The
my
inspector
gosh.
didn't like the way it looked. So they had to like come back and do some other stuff till we finally got a license or a qualified contractor out there who said, no, this is fine. What are we doing? But at that point, we had to push it back another week. So lesson learned to everybody. And I did this once early in my career. You don't send inspection reports
No.
and you don't send repair addendums to lenders because they will bring everything to a screeching halt
Another example
and
to
kill a deal
what
sometimes.
does you do besides showing pretty houses?
That's all we do.
Very
Okay,
few
can we
people, even when you go through a deal, I feel your clients don't even know half the things you've done. Even when you've done a deal, even when you have sold the house, I don't think they have any clue.
That's the way it should be.
A friend of mine called me yesterday and I wasn't feeling very well. And this is the same person, the first house I ever sold. Her and I are really close friends. And she said to me on the phone, you need to rest. You're always on the phone. You're always doing something. You need to calm down. And she went on and on about how much I do. I'm like, first time ever. Somebody actually knows
Somebody acknowledged.
and recognizes that it's a lot of. So I was like so surprised to just her understanding because nobody does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can be like that. Like, ideally, you want your clients to feel like it was as smooth
It was
a process.
easy. Yeah, exactly. So you don't even involve them in half the mess
Right.
unless you have to involve them.
And yeah, exactly. And a lot of times, I'm sure you get thanked a lot for like, hey, thank you for all the
Yeah.
hard work you put in.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool. Your very first client is now a good friend of yours.
Her and her husband are one of my best friends.
See, that's great. And I told you about my first client earlier, how she was kind of like an
Yes.
acquaintance from growing up. Well, we became really good friends
Yeah.
after to the point where her and her husband came on a cruise with me and my wife. We like vacationed together.
Oh, wow.
Afterwards, so we
Did she know that she's your first client?
Oh yeah, loves it.
See, my client didn't know.
Oh really?
I showed up dressed well in my high heels and pretended like I knew what I was talking about, which I didn't. They had no clue.
Fake it till you make it.
It was after they closed and we had become friends, and that's when I told them. They're like, what?
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, too late.
No, she knew. She knew, and she was excited
nice.
about that.
Yeah, yeah.
She was like, "Oh, I want to be your first sale." She
Yeah,
was
aw.
excited about that, and she still.
So my best friend was going to also buy the house, and she wanted to be my first client, and she was excited about it, but she left town and these people came to town that weekend. So she's very upset with them now that you stole my being the first one.
Well, she should have stepped up. As soon as
Yes.
you lose.
So a team is next, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's the next big thing happening soon.
Yeah. So once he gets licensed, I think that's the next move. And then so here's the thing: I don't know where to begin with that, and so
I think there are a lot of people here who can help.
I know, and so that's what I'm going to do.
with that.
I've
And then
obviously-
everybody's different though. Like you have to decide what your team is like. Like you can still have a team and not have an assistant. Like,
Right.
Stuff like that.
I want to probably sit down with you off microphone and pick your brain a little bit on how you do yours.
Anytime.
And then a few other people too.
And that's what
I
I
want to see
did.
how everybody
I
runs
talked
their.
to multiple people. When I started, I didn't talk to anybody. I was coming with
Right.
Becky. But when I was leaving, I did talk to a lot of people. One, to figure out, is this the smartest thing for me to leave?
Right.
And if I leave, what am I going to do? Am I going to join another team? Am I going to go on my own? And then when I was going to start my team, then again, I talked to, and I had obviously we have huge, great examples. And trust me, everybody will had a different answer.
Yeah, but
Because
that's what I want.
everybody does it differently, and then you pick out of the few that. So that'll be a big 2025 for you, starting
Yes.
the Pedigo team.
I guess so.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Does that feel old now, though? Because your son is now in the business and you are the other generation now?
He's got to pass everything first, which I think he will. He's a bright kid and he's got a real interest in it. And he's wants to start coming along with me,
Yeah.
for things. So, he just wants to absorb everything. Like I say, he's a really, really bright kid, and he's personable and likable, and
As good looking as you?
better.
Yeah.
He's taller. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Good.
No, he's great. Great.
21.
Kid. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So he's
Young.
Yeah. So it's it's got to happen, I guess. And yeah, it does make me feel a little bit. A little bit.
Because till now, nobody knew. I didn't know. Now suddenly everybody would know.
Well, when I started doing this, he was like 9 or 10 years old, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And so now he's wanting to get into it too, and it's right in front of him. One of his oldest friends, Justin Ping, is on
Kyle's team. Oh,
yeah.
nice. Yeah,
they're
he's a sweet
same
kid.
age. They grew up together, played baseball together their whole lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I walked in. I think Justin had just come in, and he was doing an open house. I walked in, and I looked at him. I said hello, and I'm like, "Where's the realtor?" I started looking for. It's like, I'm the realtor.
That's funny. You know, I get that sometimes too.
You do? Why?
I mean, you've seen the way that sometimes I show up to like show a house, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is me dressed up.
But that's, in all honesty, all most of the men here.
Not it didn't used to be.
I feel there's a discrimination in this business. The men show up however, but we all have to dress a little nicer.
You're 100% right. There is. I've talked about this with somebody on here before.
Flip-flops, I don't think, I mean, not that I've never shown a house in flip-flops, but
I don't do flip-flops.
thank you.
I won't show up in flip-flops unless I have to show a house really quick before I go play basketball.
Same, like unless I am somewhere that I can't go and change and I have to show one. Then I've shown houses and whatever, like crazy outfits.
But I'm jeans and a t-shirt. In the summer, I'm shorts and a t-shirt. I'm always Jordans.
See, but that's good though, because I feel like that's a good balance.
Right.
Sometimes I feel I'm dressed too overdressed. I've been fired once because I was dressed too nice. You told me that.
It's a great story.
Or sometimes, you know, I have to show up in shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops because I was staging a house and somebody needed to see a house. So I feel what you just described is actually perfect, right in the middle.
Yeah. When I first started, it was different. I mean, I was shirt and tie every day coming here.
Wow, really?
And yeah, every day coming here, shirt and tie. I thought that's what you had to do.
Why did that change?
Because
the business changed or you changed?
I think I just got more comfortable. I think when everybody starts, they feel like they
have to be perfect.
They're playing the part of a realtor. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is what a realtor is supposed to
Yeah.
do, and this is what a realtor is supposed to say, and this is what a realtor is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I became, I don't know, comfortable
I
in the
am
fact
the
that
realtor.
I am a realtor.
It's okay.
It's
no matter what I'm
whatever.
wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the realtor. It's not, you know what I mean?
not a
my tie
persona.
isn't the realtor.
Yeah.
I am.
And now you're well known, like, you know, now people know you. So it's not like, oh, who's this person? No, he's dressed well. They know who you are and you're popular.
Oh, come on. Come on.
So how does it feel to be on the other side?
It's been fun. Yeah, it's been fun. I enjoyed it. I don't think my story was near as good as yours.
And mine was just different because of where I come from. But, you know, everybody has a story and everybody
makes it good.
I mean, I love the fact that you passed the exam and sat in the van and it was like a life-changing moment for you, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't for me. Now I feel bad. But so everybody has their own and everybody has their own story and they're all as important as now today I know you better.
Yeah.
I did not know all of this about you.
Well,
And so does everybody else. And, you know.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I know I kind
We've done it. No, look at you. You hosted a podcast. Your very first one.
Yes.
Nice job.
Well, I was on the other side for the very first time.
You
too.
did a
So
great
it's because
job.
of you. Well, thank you for doing this with me.
You could start your own.
No.
You could call it Real Estate Superstars. No. What's the name of this one?
Real estate for real. Eric Pedigo, everybody.
Okay, Keith, thank you so much for doing this.
you.
Yeah, this was fun.